So it seems that it's working, and we have 2 minutes to go to the scheduled time of this webinar today. Today I'm here sharing with you things that I have applied in my life for quite a while, that I learned from these different disciplines and schools, and I find them really supportive on a regular basis, but also on acute situations where I need an extra boost of mental support. And before I go into that, I'd like to share with you why I'm choosing the theme for today. It's inspired by so many colleagues of mine who are using the online technologies to keep sharing their wisdom, to keep connecting to the wider community. And it is something that has come to me a long time ago, that this ability to open up from our physical environments and stay connected, even if we are not physically in the physical proximity. And now this feels even more relevant. I'm breathing a lot today. Today, the emotions have been intense. I notice I've been holding the space for myself and others, and the applicability of the tools I'm going to share with you today feel even more relevant. I had a big cry this morning. I saw my strength in my sadness as well. I was in connection with family and friends yesterday who are going through their challenges, and that made me think that it seems that there is a common subject that is affecting us all, with different intensities and definitely with different manifestations, highly dependent on our resources and our history. So the present resources, how we find ourselves in the present time, what is important that gives us an idea of how resourceful we are. Are we connected with those we love? Are we apart from those we love? Are we more worried than normally about not having the capacity to stay connected with them? Are we living our experiences on our own? Are we connected and communicating our fears to others? Are our fears being understood and listened by others? And each day of this week, from today till Friday, I'll be covering these subjects as I unveil them to myself, but also because I feel that there is a sequence that with you I'd like to adopt here. And hopefully by Friday, we have established a practice of an inner practice, and also a way of relating to others that has feel not just going over the challenges, but feeling more connected through those challenges. And one thing that comes to me that is very often present in the interactions I have every day is this concern about everybody being concerned. And I have witnessed in the last few days a change of atmosphere in the places I visit and I go. I use the public transport a lot in London. And I'm normally a person who observes. I'm wondering what's around me, who are them, and who are these people, and where they come from. I'm naturally curious. I like to know. I like stories. I like to know what's happening. So perhaps I'm a little bit noticing more the changes. I also noticed them around Brexit. For those of you who are aware of the political environment we've been living in the UK for the last years, I remember this strong sensation changing when I looked around and I had the idea that the atmosphere was changing because of Brexit and the way people were looking at each other. And of course, that is down to my interpretation. And that's what I have to deal with. I have to deal with the things I observe and also with my interpretation. And I'd like us to stay today with that interpretation. What has come to me recently is how I find challenging when I see situations where people are responding to each other's behaviors in ways that perhaps before they wouldn't. How tolerant we are and how less tolerant we are to people who display a different opinion to ours. And their behaviors, what we interpret from their behaviors. Are they taking enough care? Are they sneezing in the right direction? Shouldn't they be home if they are coughing? And that has been very present in the interactions that I'm having. And I've actually been teaching my daughter about these behaviors, not just because they are important behaviors to have at times where health concerns are at the top, and there's just natural basic hygiene behaviors that we should have, but also to feel more as a community. Even if we don't understand the importance of these behaviors, sometimes trying to behave in a different way, trying to be more careful how we cough, washing our hands, etc., may provide not just this to us again, but also make us feel connected to the general concern of the community. If the community feels safer by having more people washing their hands more frequently, then are we available to put these practices in place? Are we available to stop shopping the same way we used to shop before? Are we available to take distancing from those who would run to and hug? And are we available to stop doing the things that normally we will do and still feel connected? And what is the impact of those behaviors that we are now adopting on our emotional environment? Today I had a friend very early in the morning, and we hadn't exchanged many words recently. We miss each other in the school runs, and I waited a few seconds. We catch up, and she told me, "How are you?" "Oh, I'm well." And then I said, "No, I'm actually not well at all." I feel the impact today. I felt the bigger impact than I have felt in the other days. It's not that I feel worse, but the volume in my body felt bigger. And I told her, I just feel like crying, and my eyes start crying, and it was beautiful to stay there. And then we talked about what was concerning each of us differently, how this is affecting her business, how this is affecting my life and my income, and how I am now connecting with my colleagues, and what is the perspective of my work. And I think that my body interprets that as fear. The sensations I have in my body. And we had a lovely conversation where we were talking about what's happening in other countries. Yeah, it was lovely. I took her to the bus stop and we said goodbye, and then I came home and I did my chores, and I'm recording this for you right now. And then later on, I sent her a link of an interesting talk that I have come across on Instagram by some wonderful scientists that I follow and help me keep informed. And I sent her the link, and we were exchanging a few messages, and she said, "Oh, thank you so much for our chat earlier on this morning." And she said to me, "Yes, I still miss the hug." And that's where I'm at. I miss the hug. And I think the part of me that is really connecting physically, yeah, it's being challenged right now. And what do I do when I feel challenged in that? Yeah, And as I am noticing how emotional I'm getting, I'm also connecting to those of you out there whose concerns around coronavirus, it's just one of your concerns. You have other things in your life where it concerned you a lot as well. And I notice that I have a desire to keep expanding my capacity to hold more of the challenges. And I am grateful to my practice of Kundalini Yoga, which helped me to expand that capacity. I'll be talking about Kundalini Yoga a little bit later on as I give you and I share with you one of the tools that I find really useful to keep supporting my own inner environment, which is not Kundalini Yoga, but it's inspired by Kundalini Yoga. So, the fear, and what can we do to keep connected through the fear? And I've read beautiful things posted by some of you. A big acknowledgement to the fear is so important. And very often, those of us who are doing with personal development or personal growth or personal inquiry has been not only a lifestyle, but also a way of work. Yeah, we are used to the idea that fear is something that is so natural and so important, and it must be acknowledged. And for years, I've been supporting my clients through their fears. A long time ago, I learned about fear inventory. I love to embrace my fears. And I use my fears as an indication of what is that I really need. And there are two ways of dealing with fears. From my very deep academic background, normally I would say information. It's the main factor to deal with fear, which these days may actually play against us because we live in the era of information. We are overwhelmed by information, which means that our great big challenge is to differentiate between useful information and noxious information, which means that, it's called fake news or actually information that may be truth, but it's not been given at the right time. I often say in medical circumstances, I say it's wonderful to use the tools for a diagnosis, but sometimes it's very important to weigh the impact of receiving a diagnosis and the tools we have at our disposal to deal with the diagnosis. Because I receive quite a few clients whose shock of the diagnosis were so damaging that we had to deal with the shock first, and then we could open up to apply the tools to deal with their health issues. And it's the same nowadays with everything. What is the part of the information that I really need to receive right now so I can take an attitude, I can ask for help, I can put in place things that will help me go through, rather than information that, despite of being truth, may not be the best at the moment, because it is going to increase my confusion or even my fear and my sense of hopelessness. I can't do anything about this. And this is perhaps the big thing about this virus, is this sense that we can do very little about this. And so this helps me actually to share with you the main goal of my webinars this week, is because I like to honor a big value of mine, which is empowerment and freedom, both values. And it has to be with gathering the tools that have me feeling a little bit more empowered to take the right attitudes that I need in order to go back to balance, go back to health, go back to connection. I'm going to be shifting between screens. I can see beautiful, some of you there, and reading some of your comments. And and some of your suggestions. Keep sending them to me. This post is going to be available soon after, so more people can read about your suggestions. But remember, this big recommendation before we speak. What can we do? Is it useful? Is it kind? Is it necessary? Is it honoring of the other? And I really would like to cover these issues tomorrow until Friday, because I have a goal of getting us focusing on the strategies that we can put in place to actually make this time a time of growth, a time of connection, a time when we have learned skills that have the qualities, the human qualities of connection, solidarity, collaboration, um, highlighted. And that when we look back, like so many other times in the human history, we look back and we can say we did our best. And for our children, we can say we did our best. And I think we are capable of a lot. There's so many of us really committed to do the best, and committed to do the best for the whole. And ultimately for me, that's a goal, because I feel nourished. I feel very inspired when I see the whole nourished, when I see communities doing better than they did before, when I see my friends and my clients doing better than they did before. I am absolutely passionate by the potentiality of humans, the potentiality of magic, the mystery in this world. And yeah, it's perhaps a very selfish value, but that's what there is. So yeah, so let's do something that I learned formally through my authentic relating training. And it's called a practice that is called Connect to Self. So a big kiss to Jason and Ryle to have founded authentic relating training, and a huge hug and my love from my heart to those of you who have put me on the path to meet and to practice the things that I've been practicing since. And to those of you who are out there practicing, and my students and my co-facilitators. Connect to Self is a practice we do before we start anything. And today I haven't started with Connect to Self with you, but in the next webinars we will start by connecting to self. I did it before I published this live stream on Facebook. The Zoom was already up and I was doing Connect to Self. And I do connect to self more and more, and it's part of my stance. And very often people would um, uh, feel the similarities between this practice and mindfulness. And I will guide you through the connect to self. It's not so much a meditation and I don't use that term because some of us have a different concept for meditation. And is also not a guided practice in terms of there is nothing you need to do except observe. So exactly as you are, sitting, on the go, standing up, whatever you're doing, I invite you to do this with me. And just before we start, I tell you why this is important. There is no way that we can be in an authentic relationship with another if we are not able, or at least available, to know what's going on for us. So this practice is really important because it teaches us, and it makes it almost automatic for most of us who feel very embodied, to check in with ourselves. So when we bring ourselves onto the world, anything we do, we are so present with what is happening to us, or at least we are trying, we are in the process of observing ourselves, that it's easier to relate from that awareness. We will know that it's maybe the right time to have a conversation. Maybe it's not the right time to have this type of conversation. It may be that we are able to understand we are hungry and therefore we are responding differently to a task that has been asked from us. When we know what's going on for us, maybe that we are too excited, always so excited with the things that are happening, that we may actually be not so open to listen to others who are not feeling so excited and not so happy about what we're sharing. Whatever it is, we start by opening the space to be more aware of what's going on for us. And we will use that information with whatever we do at a given time. So it's the practice of being present with you, yourself, now, exactly as you are here. So let's do this together. So exactly as you are, sitting, as I said, standing up, walking, listening on your headphones or not, whatever you're doing, I invite you to just observe. And one of the best ways to observe is by starting with a focal point, which for some of us, it's quicker, it's more efficient if it's our breath. Nothing needs to be changed. There's no need to change your breath. Just notice how the air is going inside of your body and how the air is coming out. And I invite you to close your eyes if you're visually stimulated like I am. So very often I find that I can notice better what's happening within me by closing my eyes. So I've already asked you to do two things: to notice your breath and to close your eyes if you feel comfortable with. If focusing on your breath may be a bit challenging for you right now, you may want to focus on another part of your body. Use that as a focal point. It calms the mind automatically. And that's why when we are very nervous, it's actually quite difficult because the mind wants to sort problems. But this is the time for you to find that focal point. Continue to notice your breath. How is it coming in and how is it coming out of your body? Is it fast? Is it slow? Is it deep? Is it shallow? Is it leading other areas of your body to move? Notice your chest. Is it elevating? Is it moving? And as you connect to your breath, you may be able to expand that awareness to other parts of your body. Are they fast? Are they slow? You may notice how you're sitting now and the parts of your body in contact with other surfaces. No need to change anything, just observe. You may notice the need to actually change, to either stretch or change the position of your leg. Whatever is there, notice it. Keep expanding that awareness from your breath and from that focal point onto other parts of your body. Notice what is to feel different. And I had someone joining in, and I'm just going to stop there. And so, as we are here, continue to connect with yourselves and also with the sounds that may have come beyond my voice. Expand that awareness to everything that's there. And in there, see what is to stay with the necessity of changing your body or not. Gather more information of how you are right now, right here. What's the temperature? Smells? And as you have been tracking yourself through these few minutes since we start Connect to Self, I welcome you to notice anything that may have changed. Noticing sensations, noticing even the lack of sensations. And as we are here, and if you have your eyes closed, I invite you to very slowly start allowing a little bit more of light coming in through your eyes, lifting slowly your eyelids. And do it slowly if you can, to allow you to stay present with exactly how you feel right now, whilst taking more information from your outside world. Can you stay aware of how you feel right now? Have things changed since you start opening your eyes? Whatever you've been doing, you may be walking, you may be sitting very still, you still yourself, and you still with space that may give you awareness of how you feel right now. I open my eyes, for example, onto the screen. My screen has changed. And I do this exercise of staying connected with how I feel internally as I open. And I allow more information about the outside world to come in. So this is the practice of Connect to Self. And the importance of this practice is actually seen more in the daily life. How do I feel? How am I breathing now? What's the temperature of my body? Do I even notice my breath? Do I notice myself whilst noticing others? And what is that? It's there available for me right now. Am I angry? Am I relaxed? Am I tense? And in the practice of authentic relating, I have found that by having this awareness and collecting this information about myself and bringing it either verbally or at least through awareness in my interactions with others, I am more present and I am able to be present with others whilst being present with myself. Of course, if more of us do this, we may notice that things start slowing down. And we may also notice that we are capable of allow more information in and also be more focused on what really matters. In the next few days, I'm going to be doing more practices about this. And that's why I wanted to leave this with you. And I encourage you to practice throughout the day the practice of connect to self. And there you go. For those of you who have done authentic relating, you know this is core to our practice. And for those of you who haven't done, you have learned the first big module. This is also practice in other disciplines. What I like about the practice that we call connect to self is that it's just that. It doesn't have, it removes part of the judgment that other words may bring to me. Like, I love the practice of mindfulness. It was actually one of my first, or if not the first practice, the first training I took 20 years ago. The fact that is called mindful, I have to say that very often I felt, when is my mind not full? And why should it be full? So I prefer terminology that allows for less judgment of on my part, and that's why I connect so well with connect to self. That's it. It's an action that actually requires hardly anything. Why I find this very important for me, and going back to that example I gave you this morning, is that I was able to identify in me the sensations of contraction around my chest. I was able to find tension on my neck and micro movements underneath my eyes that indicate me that tears are about to come out. So when I brought that awareness, I was able to share with the person who asked me genuinely, how are you feeling? I could tell her a true answer. And so if we are available to see the truth amongst us, then also that feels more connecting and more vulnerable. Very often, why would I say that to someone? Comes from a fear that the person will have to rescue, and we don't want to be rescued, not necessarily in a morning conversation on our way to the public transport. So these practices actually require a whole different attitude in relating to others, where we feel also that we can be listened to, that others can witness our true selves without having to change it, that we don't feel hopeless. These are practices that ultimately expose more parts of ourselves whilst providing us with a sense that we are ourselves, which is that we have the resources to be ourselves, which is the definition of feeling empowered. By connecting to self in that moment, I was able to be truth to others. And I was able to also witness what I needed for the rest of the day. So if I'm identifying that I need to cry, I may be in a better position to choose what I'm going to do next. To choose that I may need to take some time, that I may need to go for a walk if I'm not housebound, that I may need to find a corner in my home, that I may need to have a hot drink, whatever suits me to stay present with that feeling. And it also may give me a better indication of the things that I want to avoid that day. Because if I'm feeling that I'm quite sensitive, let's say quite responsive to the emotion, I may want to perhaps not have many conversations where I may start crying. So perhaps in front of people that I don't feel so at ease with. So I may choose who I am interacting with. Or simply, and again, it may give me the push to share that with others. Look, by the way, today I'm feeling quite tearful. So I just want you to know that in our interaction, I may just start crying and I would like you not to freak out. I'm just that way. Or ask for what you need as well. So I've given you an example of how I apply this in my life and why it can be so useful to me. I also use this technique when I'm working with clients. And those of you who are watching this video and you've worked directly with me, you know that before we go into the big discussion of what needs to be dealt with, very often we go into connect to self and see what is available for us in that moment. So I really feel that in this type of interactions, and I'm thinking of some of you who are watching this video and will watch it later on, you are present online, you are setting up community groups, you are helping others already. And I can see that some of you are really taking the leadership. And I want to share that my heart goes out for you because I feel it within me how much expansion I have to have in order to welcome the feelings and the sensations that others share with me. And I want that, yet I also need to understand, it's useful for me when I understand that, is my availability really enough for what I'm receiving right now? So these tools of self-care are really important. And they are important for us to connect with others from that place. I can give you myself, and myself also includes these things that I'm feeling right now. Talking with your colleagues, talking with people you are working now online with your boss or with your employees. Bring this consciousness about how fear, how sadness, how the sense of doubt is just here. And I find really different when I say to people and I see other people and I hear other people saying to each other, oh, you know how it is, this coronavirus thing, this big challenge, even when I use the word challenge, this big thing. What is specifically this for you? Your way of dealing with this, THIS, is totally different from mine. So this can be a wonderful opportunity for us to really share what does it feel like. And as I started earlier on, and I was speaking about how do we deal with other people's opinions? You know, I gave you an example. I have really come across a lot of people that are in the same lines of thought of mine, but also a few who are not. And I think this has actually been quite poignant in the last years, having people polarized, people who I would expect to have some political views in the world, and then they showed they were actually on apparent the opposite side to mine. And it's very similar here. It's actually, it starts to be like a pattern. These things come up, and then we are polarized. And today and in the next few days, and actually for my programs, I would really like to focus our energy on to understand these polarities, because I have experience, I have been taught, and I'm passionate about discovering the reality behind the polarity, that ultimately we may look like we are very different, we are on the opposite side of the fence, but it's very likely that the things that concern us are very similar. And I was saying today to, apparently there's a lot of police and army in the streets of Italy right now, and there's the announcement that there will be police, a lot of police in the streets in France from today. And I was sharing this with a friend this morning, and I really had this thought that I've experienced before in my life, when I was also in confrontations with policemen, and from a social perspective, not that I was doing anything against the law. And I really remember looking at the faces of people, of these officials, and be very present with the idea they too have families, they too have fears, they too take their army gown and they go home, hopefully sooner than later. And that's where I want to be connecting. And I'm passionate about that within these polarities, we are actually connected as humans. And within that humanity, we are very diverse. The same thing as for centuries, we've been talking about race. And then we are shocked that there is so many resistance to equity and equality between people of different color, melanin concentration levels. And how can we go from a place where we are all different and yet we are all humans? So I've been talking a lot and I am seeing your comments. I'm going to open more of the comments. I don't want to bother you to make myself too boring for you. In as much that I'd like to be very efficient in this technology, and I'm learning, and once again I appreciate those of you who have been supporting me in my attempts to become very savvy with these things. And I'm going to give you another tool. So, and I found this tool very important because yesterday, before the webinar that I recorded yesterday, I felt very agitated emotionally, which manifested by feeling contracted around my belly and having a shallow breathing. And I thought, oh my God, I'm not going to even be able to communicate with the audience. So I had this fear around not being able to calm my body. So I applied a technique that I have actually learned when I was a teenager and I was doing classical singing. And it's the abdominal breathing. And we use it a lot in Kundalini as we want to get to meditative states. So I'm going to teach you the abdominal breathing, and then I'm going to teach you the fire breath. And these two techniques of breathing really help me to inform my body that basically I feel I can take control over my breath by expanding my lungs and then by activating my lungs. And this has an effect that is physiological proven on activating the parasympathetic system, which is the side of our nervous system that really supports us to reduce stress levels and to start healing. So because the hormones that we produce when the parasympathetic system is balanced and activated are the ones that support general healing, general detoxifying, general regeneration. So for that is not so much as a connect to self-practice. We are not just observing. We are going to be teaching the body what to do in these occasions. And I wouldn't be surprised if many of you know what I'm saying, but let's do this together. And hopefully more of you can teach it out and really go into this like, okay, I'm feeling a bit activated. What do I need to do? I also suggest this for those of you who are out there chanting, singing, meditating, and particularly for yoga teachers who very often I notice that as a yoga teacher, very important part of my practice is actually my preparation for the classes. And I'm not talking about intellectual preparation, mental preparation, but actually physical preparation, which means me taking some of this breath before I start. So I invite you to sit or to stop if you're walking, as I feel that some of you that are present here may be connecting with me whilst you're walking. That's beautiful. And then some of you have the luxury and your beautiful love of being here and listening to this. And I hope that so far it's useful. So let's all take a breath. Oh, it's such a repetitive practice we do. Let's all take a breath. Together, when humans take a breath together, our nervous systems connect. There's many ways the nervous systems of humans connect, sometimes to calm us down, sometimes to increase activation of adrenaline, which actually protects us in cases where we are under threat. So we have to balance both. We have to balance the activation of the reactions and the right responses for the right factors, and others, we can bring the calmness to each other. It's beautiful. We are definitely one, and we respond as one. And for that, anything you do for your own goodness, you are likely to actually bring that goodness to others too. So sit comfortably. If that means being sitting with your legs crossed, fantastic. If that's uncomfortable, just sit on a chair or stay still. I would even encourage you, if you actually cannot stay still, do this breathing as you're walking. I do it because I'm always on the go. So if I'm feeling a little bit activated, I start activating as well this breath. So I'd like you to take a breath and bring that breath onto your abdomen, which means you expand your belly out. You're not lifting your shoulders. You're not expanding the upper part of your lungs. You are focusing on expanding your belly. And for that, you may want to put your hands in front of your belly button. And then as you exhale, you empty the lower part of your abdomen. You can exhale through your mouth, your nose. Eventually, it's better if you do this through your nose. It activates the parasympathetic even quicker. So again, inhale. And I moved up to put my spine straight, but the part of my body that expanded was my belly. And exhale. Inhale. Exhale. And now you're going to do this as slow as you can, moving your breath in you're moving your abdomen out. And exhale. Pushing your belly in. So the belly button goes towards the back and up towards the stomach. Exhale it all. Most important thing about this breath is actually the exhale. We are exhaling. We are detoxifying our body from our gases that are no longer needed. Inhale. Stomach out for some of you. For all other people who are more aware of this type of breathing, is the lower abdomen is expanded, the diaphragm is down, and exhale. Use the exhalation to relax all parts of your body that may still feel tensed. Exhale slowly and fully. Fully, more and more. More. Inhale. Abdomen out. Exhale. So this is, and now you can recuperate your normal breath. You may find some changes. You may do this for much longer than I did with you. It's the most important thing is that this becomes a resource that you can always tap into. If you're tired, if you're stressed, there's a panic sensation activated in the brain, too much thoughts, too much confusion, this is beautiful. And then we can do breath of fire in Kundalini. It's a bit different in other disciplines. In Kundalini, we concentrate mainly on the exhale. So I'm going to do it as if you are a beginner, because that's very much safe, and also it brings as much benefits, which is the version where we only concentrate on the exhale. And let's consider that we are like a dog and we have our tongue out and we pant. So we're going to do that, but by closing our mouth, because it's only through the nose. I didn't think that I was going to be in front of the screen doing all these things with my face, but yeah, there you go. As you are panting or blowing a candle through the nose, blowing a candle out through the nose, you exhale through the nose as if you are blowing out a candle, and your belly is going in with each exhale. The inhale happens automatically. Now, if you are on your first days of your period or pregnant, don't do this. If you are an experienced Kundalini Yoga practitioner, you know that you will be able to do this. But if you're a beginner, don't do this and just do the long breath. Again, concentrating on the exhale. But for everybody else, it's a beautiful detoxifying breath, and it really gets our system, let's say, in focus, and brings us an awareness of inner power. So very slowly, start with slow out breath through the nose. The inhale happens naturally, and we are basically moving the diaphragm in, bringing the lungs up, emptying, because very often we don't empty our lungs enough, and that's why we become stressed and we don't have enough air. In order to have all the air we need to breathe, to nourish ourselves, and to be relaxed, we need to empty the lungs first. So empty it all out. And then you can accelerate. Start with 1 minute, not more. Go back to your normal breath. And hopefully your body has been supported with a few minutes of directed breath, one to really expand and emptying the whole lungs, to calm the mind, to focus your body on to do something that is nourishing to you, and the other to activate, to make you empowered in that breath control. There's a lot of schools that say that we should never control the breath, and I try to use the word never as little as possible. And I found great, great benefits on doing this breath, even if I'm not sitting cross-legged, if I'm not in a yoga class, if I'm having a conversation that seems a bit activated, and I want to get back to myself. I want to get back resourceful in a way that I can connect with others, and above all, that I'm also nourishing myself. So in these times of challenge, I've given you two of the most important tools that I am using every day, several times a day, and that I find really, really practical. In the next few days, I am going to be responding more to your direct concerns. I'm going to be sharing with you values of my work that I find often bringing into my own awareness when I relate to others. We'll be covering tools that we can put in place, strategies, behaviors, thoughts, in order to feel more available to talk to others, to be in distance relationships. I am looking forward to share with you a type of conversation that I like to practice when in distance. I have a lot of experience in distance relationships, and I found that very often it's more complicated to actually get to the things I really want to be sharing with those I love. And so in the next few days, I'm going to be sharing this with you. I think that we need to be relating from a place where we have more awareness of our fears, of what is that we value, and why those fears are here. What are the things that allow us to stay present with our fears and our concerns and still create space to be available to connect with others and with the situation? Techniques to deal with the overwhelms that comes with the unknown, dealing with the truth unknown of these situations. I am particularly interested to understand the impact of this gradual danger perception. How can we deal? How can we digest and assimilate the potential impact of a danger that came in gradually? I am particularly and personally invested in understanding my own resources to deal with my future. And I trust that I have resources, that I have people around me that will feedback and that will support me. And I want to share these ones with you too. So, and ultimately, I really feel, like I said, this is a great opportunity for us to come out more resourceful and more connected. I will be here tomorrow at 1 p.m. again. I will be posting on my pages the themes, what's coming. But if you feel like, I will really appreciate your feedback, your comments, your messages. I have my Facebook profile, although I am really trying to reach out in all other platforms. I'm on Instagram, I'm on LinkedIn, and I am on through email. And from next week, I will have online sessions that I really want to open for you. My work is being brought from the office into my home environment. And I believe this is a time that many of us are in the same situation. Many of us see their income stream being affected. And I am trusting that we are going to create ways where we can keep supporting each other, not just emotionally, not just physically, through creative ways, but also financially. So we can continue to be in this system and transform this system, this financial system we live in, and bring out the best capacities and qualities and all the research and experience and love and caring that we have gathered all these years. So tune in. I'm going to put a link to my mailing list specific for these online sessions. So bring me your addresses so I can be more tailor making my offerings to you. And I really can't wait to make this a better world. I can't wait through all the challenges. Thank you for being there today. I really felt your presence, and I hope that more can really connect. And yeah, we are here. We are here. We are in this together, as so many of you have already shared. And I completely believe we do this. Let's do this. Let's stay connected. Take care.